Okay, we're out here with the Paradise Trimaran, and we're still working on the fuel issues. And the brand new 30 horsepower not running right. Okay, so what I have done is I have removed the carburetor. Right here. See these two bolts here? I don't know if you can see them. Yeah, this one and this one. That's a air baffle. Basically, it keeps water or whatever from getting into the carburetor. There's no filter or nothing because you're in the ocean, so there's no dirt and dust in theory, but there is water. So all you gotta do is take these two bolts out here, this one and this one, and on this side you have to snap off the throttle cable right here, this little black thing. I don't know if you can see that right there. It just snaps off. It snaps on and snaps off, so you don't have to do anything fancy with that. And your choke right here, it right there, that little wire has to be pulled out of the little plastic holder thingy, and that's it. So those two connections to your linkage, choke and throttle linkage, those just pop off. No special tools, nothing needed. And over here you got to drop your fuel line right here. Took the fuel line off. It's just this little spring clampy thing, and then take these two bolts off and your carb comes out. They've got an interesting reed valve set up in here where it's a lot of little circle valves and stuff. But the next thing I did, because people that adjust things, when you get your new engine, they may turn a screw or they may try to adjust your air fuel ratio mixture or something on your carb. Well, they think you do it until they like the sound, okay? But the way you check it is by checking your spark plug. You see that spark plug there? You see how it's black? That's way too rich. It should be brown. It should be nice and brown, but it is rich, folks. Way too rich. Okay? And you got to make sure that gap is right too. People don't even know that gap between the space between the little L-shaped thing and the little center point on the spark plug. That has to be a certain distance, and you need a feeler gauge or a spark plug gapping gauge to get that right. You got to know what the gap distance is and get that right. Okay, so I'm going to put this back in here. A lot of oilish looking stuff in there, brown oilish looking stuff, and I don't know why. But the cool thing is that Yamaha gives you a spark plug removal tool with your engine, with your new one, and it looks like this. This is long too, but see, you can see that's spark plug. But I use a screwdriver through here because they just give you a straight bar that can fall out right into the ocean. So I put my screwdriver, and then I got two hands. I can put one on the left side, one on the right side, and take it loose. Okay, so we shall put this one back in, and actually I'm going to have to put the phone down because I'm going to two-hand this thing to make sure it's snug, not breaking it snug, but properly snug. And then I'll check that bottom one, let you take a look at that, and we'll see how that looks too. So anyway, they should look exactly the same. If this one's black, this one should be black. If this one's black and this one's brown, you got a problem with the one that's black because you got one carb here and only one air fuel. So these things should be exactly the same. But I'm going to tell you, get out and see. If this one is black and this one's not, this one might not be firing very good. There may be a problem with that spark plug. Okay. So let me put the camera down. And of course, you saw the fuel filter thingy. It's all clean now and nice. We got all good fuel in here. So I'm going to take this carburetor back to the house where I'm not going to work on it out in the ocean because you drop any little jet, you ain't finding it, folks. So anyway, I'm going to set up a nice clean room type environment in the shed and work on that carb there. So Paradise out. Voila. Okay, anybody know what that little thing in the center of the screen is? Well, I do. It is a Yamaha 30 horsepower two-stroke carburetor. And I have it here. This is off my new boat engine. And I have it here because I think I gummed it up. I think I gummed it up with some, oh, well, the gas, I didn't gum it up. Some gasoline gummed it up. That got some water in it. So we are going to take some stuff apart. And I'll just start by kind of running down what all these things on here are. Okay. So of course this is the throttle, and this opens up. I mean, this is the choke thing here. See, it's got a spring, which is really cool. See right there, it's got a little spring on there. Most of them don't have springs. They just go whichever way this goes. But this has a spring, so you can put the choke on to start it. It causes more vacuum inside here to suck more gas into the engine, because when you first start it, there's no gasoline in the cylinder. So you put that on there, then the piston starts sucking real hard through here, and the gas squirts out of these jets, like that little brown brass looking thing straight above my fingernail, straight towards it. That is the jet, the main jet right there. So we got to take that out and clean it. This is your fuel input. This bottom part here, and of course this goes down like this, is your bowl, and it's got a float in there that regulates fuel going, making fuel available to go in through the jet. This here screw on the side is a bowl drain screw. So again, it sets in the engine like this. So if you want to drain your fuel out, you can take that screw out and it'll drain all the fuel out of your carburetor. Okay. And what I do to get the fuel out of the carburetor is when I'm done running for the day, I start the engine, I disconnect the fuel line from the engine, not from the gas tank, but from the engine, and the engine no longer has a supply of gas, so it will continue running until it sucks all the gas out of here, or pretty much most of it out of here. So this stays drier. And there's a little, well, I'll show you more after inside, but yeah, that's a good plan. When you're not running your engine, if you're going to store it for a day or two or a week or a month or 6 months or whatever, it's better to have this fuel bowl dry. So the best thing you can do if you're really going to store it for a while, is take this drain screw out here. See that screw right there? And drain all the gas actually out of it. And then when you put fresh gas in, you won't have gummy gas, because here in the Philippines, and in the U.S. and almost everywhere, I guess, gasoline is now mixed with 10% alcohol. Alcohol absorbs water like crazy. Water mixing with gasoline is bad. It turns into this little slippery, gummy kind of stuff. It's usually brown, or mine's brown. Whenever I've checked it here, it's brown. And it gets into the jets because it's thicker than gasoline and gummier. It clogs your jets. Okay, and then if you clog your jet is what the fuel is able to goes through, is metered through. You have a jet with a small hole or a big hole or a bigger hole. You have several jets with different size holes, depending on how much vacuum you can pull through here. Creates vacuum to suck the gas out of this bowl and into this part goes into the engine here. When you push your throttle down, this is what opens up. See that jet right there? See right there? That opens up and lets the engine suck in more air and more gas. Throttle linkage right there. Okay, so there's no real gasket between the engine and the carburetor, but there is this O-ring type seal here, so beware of that. Don't lose that ever. There's a gasket, I believe maybe there's probably an O-ring type rubber seal on this bolt too, but we'll take that apart. I gotta get my tools out. I don't know what this top part is. I haven't seen an engine with the top part on it. I mean a carburetor with the top part on it like that, so that's new to me. This is a Yamaha. Over here is your air fuel ratio. Am I saying that right? No. Yeah, normally On this side is your air-fuel ratio mixture, but it's got no, this is your throttle. This is the shaft going through there. Over here, okay, that's why I'm confused. Here is your air-fuel ratio mixture here. So you turn this in, and it gets less fuel and more air. The ratio of fuel to air reduces to less fuel. Well, as you saw, possibly my spark plugs are black. This is open too much. It's screwed out too many turns, or half a turn, a quarter turn, whatever the magic number is. I don't know that because I'm not experienced with this, but I'm going to turn it in about a quarter turn. And here, of course, is your idle adjustment here. This is your throttle arm, and this is adjusted properly. I'm not going to touch that. It idles at about 800 RPM, 900, bouncing around there with my induction tach. So anyway, I had to get my tools to do this with too. So we are going to basically take this bottom bolt off and eventually take this jet fuel ratio screw jet thing out and take this off and see what's all in there, and hope I don't screw anything up. But there's a Yamaha authorized service place at the marina here, Porter's Marina, and that's where I've taken all of my engines so far, except for the new one, to get work on, and they do great work. So, and they got a lot of the parts and stuff too. Yeah, it's owned by a foreigner, so everything is a little bit high price. Yamaha brand stuff is going to cost you 5 to 7 times more than a generic part from China. So beware. But you know, if you need a genuine Yamaha part for the quality, you're going out in the ocean 20, 30, 50, 100 miles, you want stuff that'll get you back home. So anyway, back to this. I got to go get my tools. I got some little reamer wires and stuff like that I got to use to clean these jets out with, and screwdrivers to take these things off with, and that's about it. Just my reamers and my screwdrivers, and I should be good to go. So paradise out. All right, fellow carburetor mechanics or technicians or technologists, whatever you want to call yourself, these are the basic tools you'll need. You don't need much more than a Phillips screwdriver, a slot screwdriver, and this one's kind of small, but it's what I got, so I'm going to use it. And I have a little Phillips here just in case I need to kind of go down in a hole and do something. I may need a bigger slot than that, because that main jet, I will need a bigger slot. I need a bigger slot because when you take out the main jet, you stick it down in a hole and then you have to unscrew it. Well, it's got a hole in the center, but the slot is on the outside, so you have to have a wide enough slot to reach the outside. You'll see. So screwdrivers, Phillips, flat tip. I got a Phillips here just in case. You'll need these little brush set. This set here is nice because it's got all the little brushes where you can ream out your little jet holes. It's got lots of little stainless steel wires here for reaming. However, it doesn't have these little tiny stainless steel wires. Well, a lot of the jets are tiny like that. So this set, even though it's got the cool brushes and all that, and most of the wires, it doesn't have these little tiny ones. See these little tiny things? You need those. You need these for some carburetors. And this has a file or something. I don't know what this is, but I'd say it's pretty useless. Whatever it is, it's not a real file. It's just a piece of metal pretending to be a file. But anyway, we can get these on Shopee. I ordered these on Shopee, and when I got them and cleaned my inboard 4-stroke Summorado 15 horsepower engine, I didn't have the small enough wires. However, I was able to make everything work, and I was able to clean it. Also, you want your carb cleaner. Lots of that. I've got this one here. It's almost full, I think. And then I got 3 more in there, in that little plastic carry-all. I call it Tupperware. It's not, but I call it that. It's WD-40 just in case you need to lube something. Who knows what. And I'm going to go and get a bigger screwdriver. because I got to take that main jet out. So let me get that and we'll be back, and then we'll start into this bad boy, Paradise, and make it a good boy, Paradise. Out. Alrighty, folks, we got the air fuel mixture jet out, and what you do before you take it out, you screw it all the way in, but you don't just screw it all the way in, you count the turns precisely as to how many turns goes in until it hits stop. Don't force it into stop, just go till it stops, and then however many turns that is, whenever you put it back in, you screw it all the way in, then you back it out that many turns. I'm going to back it out less than that. Mine was 2 turns. So I'm going to come out about 1 3/4 turns, because I need to lean out. I need to put less fuel in here through this, because my spark plugs are black and carboned all up and stuff. So I took the bottom off here, and look at that. Look at that nasty stuff. All that gunk in the bottom there. See that? That's what clogs your carburetor. And again, here's your little drain hole here. So that's why it's smart to just use that drain hole and drain everything out, because otherwise, when your fuel sets in here, it'll gum up if it's got any water in it. Now, water could be in it from when it was in the gas tank and, followed it, or went with the gas into here, and then it's setting in here. Well, the water's still in the gas, but then when it starts separating and kind of coagulating, if you know what that means, starts kind of to gel up, that's when it causes problems, okay? So, got to clean all that out. See, there's pieces of dirt in there, gunky brown stuff. So that's got to be cleaned. Carburetor cleaner and some tissue will get that out of there. This is your main jet here. So I got to unscrew that. And that's full of holes down at the other end. This is your float here, which meters your fuel going into, making it available to the carburetor, okay? So this floats on the fuel, and you can see the float even has dirt on it. See that? It's all that dirt there. Because when I run the engine until it dies, it doesn't 100% drain this bowl. It just lowers it so that the gas isn't all the way up in here gunking up this little, there's a little valve that as this floats up, it opens that valve. It's a little valve inside of a hole, and it opens the hole and lets fuel in and closes the hole and stops the fuel based upon this position of the float. That float is raising it up and down. It's a hinge right here, and the valve, the needle valve or jet valve, whatever you want to call it, is connected right here. So we will clean this too. We'll take that out and clean it. The tip of it is rubber, so you want to clean it. Don't use anything abrasive on it. It's got to be a super smooth seal, so when it decides to close, it closes, and when it decides to open, it's a clean open. So that's what's next. Taking this screw out, and once we get it all in pieces, then we'll start to cleaning, okay? So there's not a lot to these things, but don't be messing with stuff or thinking you're going to adjust things. The only thing you should be adjusting is this air-fuel ratio, depending upon the color of your spark plug, and your idle adjustment, depending on the RPMs for idle. That's it. The rest of the stuff you just clean, put it back exactly like it was. So anyway, I'm going to take that out, and we'll be back with more Paradise. We'll inspect that and see how nasty that is. Obviously, this has got dirt on it, that's got dirt on it, and maybe the jet in here's got some funky dirt. So Paradise out. That was a chicken. Okay, I got this screw out here. Once you get this screw out and you see there's a little hole in it there, that needs to be cleaned. All the stuff needs to be cleaned. Everything here. And again, if I could focus with the camera, it tries to focus on other stuff, but not what I want to focus on. But anyway, you can see a little bit of dirt in there, so we got to clean that out good. And then in here's your real jet little tube here. So we got to get that guy out. And usually you just shake him out. You turn it upside down and shake it, and he'll fall out. Should fall out. So let's see. Let's see what happens. I'll give that a try, and we'll be back. Paradise out. Okay. I haven't got this main jet out yet in there. Okay. I don't know how to get it out, but I'm going to stick a little skinny screwdriver in there and kind of wiggle it side to side, see if I can unstick it. The other thing I did, though, I took this plate off of the bottom here, right here, okay? So this thing somehow lets air into the carburation. See right here, these channels and stuff and little jets and things. Somehow it's an air, and maybe it does fuel too, I don't know. But there's a lot of holes in here where air sucks in here. Air can suck in down here. You can see that hole there goes all the way through to the tissue. That hole right, get out of the shadow right there, goes all the way through to the tissue. And so I don't know why they got all these holes, but they do. They got a lot of holes, and it's sucking air in here. It's a 2-stroke. Maybe that's different than a 4-stroke, but ours just a Yamaha, so it's a little more sophisticated, so we'll see. But anyway, those are little jets in there, and I got to clean those out. I got to use those little tiny fine wires like I showed you have on this other kit to just slide down in there and just kind of spin them a little bit and clean them out. Just get whatever funk is in there out. So that's that. So I'm going to put this, and it's got little rubber gasket thing there. Again, it's just air metering somehow. Okay, I'm trying to get out this this main jet over on this side now. That guy, see if I can get him out. Paradise. I'm going to use one of these little skinny screwdrivers here to see if I can stick down in there and kind of wedge it and wiggle it and maybe make it loose and see if it'll pop out. Paradise. Out. Okay, got it out. Got it out, folks. So all I had to do was just stick this little screwdriver down in there and just it kind of fit a little bit tight, but when I put it in there and it's pulled up, it was stuck to the screwdriver and it just came right out. So it just needed a little tap or a little help there. These are the little tiny holes. You see those little tiny holes? You got to clean all those guys out. That's how you get your fuel into your carburetor through your main jet. And of course this hole here got to be reamed. And so yeah, you got to clean all this stuff here. Remember the direction this goes in with this end up. Don't put it in upside down. This would be upside down. This is right side up. Okay, this little ring is closer to the top. And that's the big hole. That's the same size hole, but just thinner wall. Okay, so that's another thing that's got to be cleaned. Next, I'm going to take this float off and check this valve here, see how it looks, and just look this fuel area inside of where the bowl goes. And so I got to take this out. By the way, the screws, the Phillips screws that I use, the Phillips screwdriver and the Phillips screws, this has Phillips screws for this bowl, Phillips screws, and they also have a slot. Use the slot. The Phillips screw tried to strip out, and I got a good Phillips screwdriver here, but it tried to strip it. It tried to strip the head, but when I put this nice clean straight slot in there, it's popped and came right out. All of them did. So I advise you to use that where you can to get these. Don't use the Phillips if you don't have to. Paradise, I'm taking that out next, and that does require a Phillips or a small straight slot. Sometimes a small straight slot will fit down in the 2 grooves, and you can get it off. But I'm start with that and see if that doesn't take it off. Paradise, out. Okay, got that screw out, this little tiny screw, and the Phillips screwdriver worked just fine on this. It's just small, not too much threads in there, so it didn't take much torque. Here's a little secret here that you want to be aware of. This little stainless steel rod that goes through here is free floating. If you pick this up, this plastic part, it'll just fall out. So beware of that. They've got a screw in here. This screw in here holds that in there so it doesn't just fall out. But on other boats, you won't have this. On other carburetors, you won't have that screw. You lift this up and it falls out, and it's on the ground, or if you're in the ocean, it's gone. So word to the wise, be aware that this float and this little stainless steel rod here is just, it'll just fall out. So be careful, folks. And I wouldn't do any of these repairs in the ocean unless you have to, unless you're just stuck out in the ocean. I know, but be inside the hull of the boat where things can't roll around and fall down in a crack or something like that, because there's a lot of little tiny parts you're going to be dealing with. Springs like on that thing there, this little slippery little stainless steel thing. There's a little tiny spring on this, goes from this float to the jet that it lifts up, that it pulls up and down out of the hull. It's cone shaped at the bottom, so it controls. The further you come up, the more fuel it lets in. So I'm going to take this off, but I need 2 hands, so I'm not going to be holding the camera. And that's why I haven't done any of this holding the camera, but you see the results. Basic steps. Paradise out. Okay, I lifted this out. I slid that little slippery, and I'm going to call it slippery every time, this little slippery stainless steel pin here that goes across here, that's the hinge for your float. Now here's your little float valve. See that there? It's a little rubber tip, so be gentle. And this thing here, it just sets. These things usually just set here, or they're clipped onto a little tiny thing, and so beware of all this little tiny stuff and how it connects to here, to this silver thing with the rubber tip, this kind of a valve jet thing, whatever you want to call it. Beware how it connects to there, that spring. Don't go yanking stuff, because everything is delicate here, and if it comes out, it might not go back in, or you might break it. So I'm not taking this one out. However, it does need some cleaning. You can see on that side right there, there's a little bit of dirt and stuff. So I'll blast it with some carburetor cleaner, make it shiny and nice, and then that's good enough. Okay, so now what my job is here is to start reaming these out. When I say ream, I don't mean viciously. I mean carefully, with the proper size hole. Don't go with one too big and you're forcing it in and getting it stuck or anything like that. It should go in and out smoothly and cleanly. And then after you ream it, you hit it with your carburetor cleaner. So I'm going to do that. Same here. There's a hole in there that goes into where your fuel actually comes in. You can't see it right here because the butterfly is closed, but I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can't see the hole, but there's a little tiny jet there. Maybe you can. Right at the top of the screen there's a little shiny part. I'll move it until that brass butterfly touches it right there. You can see that sticks out. So you got to run your reamer through there, because that actually delivers the fuel into your engine. Okay. So I'm going to go to reaming all these little jet holes and stuff. I'm going to clean this guy out and hit that with some carburetor cleaner and ream all these little holes out in here. I'm going to shoot this guy with cleaner. And again, this is a little tiny, I mean, you see it there? See how tiny that little jet thing is? Don't damage it, okay? All this stuff you just got to be tender with, but, clean it through. That looks really pretty clean, but I don't know if the hole's clean or what. But again, this is your air-fuel ratio mixture. So, and mine's running rich, so it's too far out, letting too much fuel in. It's like opening the door when you screw it back. It's closing the door when you push it in. The same with this thing here. As this float goes up, it opens the door. As this float goes down, it closes the door, letting more fuel come in before you oops, it just fell off. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, okay, let me show you how this works. Sometimes they have a little spring, but this one doesn't. It's got this, see that little tiny thing? See that little tiny head? That slides into a groove and just sits there floating basically in space. See that? Everything like I said is tiny. Be careful, okay? You can do it, but just, heads up. Be aware. Okay, I'm going to start to cleaning out all these jets. And again, I'm leaving all these gaskets in. When I'm done, I might put a little bit of silicone. What's it called? I've got little tubes of like silicone grease on here to just kind of keep these gaskets soft and also aid in sealing. They put it on the inside of my watch here on the back when they change the battery. They're supposed to. They usually don't have it here in the Philippines. Half of them do, half of them don't. So, but you put that on there, and that waterproofs it, and so we're also sealing against any air leaks and stuff, and preserving this rubber, keeping it nice and supple and soft. Both of these, and maybe a little around this one. I don't know. It's sucking in air anyway, but I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Paradise out. Okay, everybody, I've got it all cleaned. I've got it all reamed. I reamed it with all my little brushes and things like that. Every hole that it has, I cleaned it out. Every jet. I put the air-fuel ratio screw back in. I screwed it down all the way, backed it out 1.5 turns. It was 2 turns out, but I'm trying to lessen the fuel. I don't know if that's lessen or more. You have to check your spark plugs to find out if you're going the right direction. But normally, yes. But this is letting air in through this contraption here. See those little holes? That's air. And this valve, this needle goes right into here where it's open, where all the air and stuff can be sucked in. So I don't know what Yamaha's doing here. If they're metering air, if they're metering creating vacuum to get more fuel, or opening the fuel line up to get more fuel, or I don't know what they're doing, what their philosophy or engineering thought is, but I will test it. And again, like I said, you fire the engine up and run it for a minute or two. That's all you have to do. You don't have to run it like an hour or anything like that. Just a minute, 2, 3, 4. Let it get warmed up. Your choke can't be on because that'll cause it to be rich. So it chokes off. It's running, idling just fine. Shut it off, and then pull out a spark plug. See what color it is. Black's too rich. You have to adjust this again, one way or the other. If it's white, it's too lean. You have to adjust this screw one way or the other. And if it's tan, you leave it alone. You're good to go. Okay, the other thing I'm doing, I've got my little silicone here. It's Super Lube for O-ring lubrication. It's a silicone. It's like a dielectric silicone grease here. So that's great for preserving all your little O-rings and stuff. So I'm putting that on, a little bead on here, and then sealing it back up. So I also put in my main jet. I dropped it in, and then I screwed in the little cap screw here that holds the jet in. The jet isn't necessarily oriented in any certain way, so it just drops in and that's it. I did spray a little WD-40 into every place where there's a screw, so that the threads will be kind of bathed in WD-40, which is water displacing. So less corrosion on the threads. As long, gas may wash it out. I have no idea, but that's what I'm starting with. Next thing I gotta do is put in the float and put on the bowl. Cover the float, the metering jet, or metering valve, whatever you want to call it. This little slippery pin, remember that guy? Slippery Sam, buddy. Watch out. And then we'll be have the bottom on, and all this mechanism down here, and then I'll lubricate this and put it on there, and then I'll just put a little thin lubrication around this O-ring here for the seal on the disc connects to the engine here. So seal that up. So anyway, I don't know what that little hole is for. To see that little hole right there? I don't know where that goes. I should shoot some trichloroethane in there, see where it comes out. That's another thing you can do when you're not sure where these holes go. Shoot some of the trichloroethane into the hole and see where it comes out. And so that'll help solve problems. But there's little tiny holes, and I don't know if you can see them right there. See at the tip of my finger, that little black dot, that's a hole. That's where your fuel comes in. Probably from your air-fuel ratio adjustment here. So we'll see. We'll see how our adjustment works by a half a turn. We'll see what that does. That gets us into the brown tip on spark plug. Yeah, spark plug should be about that color of brown, the tannish brown, like that right there. So remember that, folks. Good air-fuel ratio. It's called stoichiometric. And in my race cars that I used to build, we had air-fuel ratio meters, gauges, and 14.7 parts of air to 1 part of fuel was the perfect ratio. And they had a little LED green, yellow, red bar there where it would tell you which way you were going. And then you can adjust your fuel pressure because it was fuel injected, so you adjust your fuel pressure on that. You don't have air fuel ratio screw because you got fuel injectors. You got fuel pressure that you increase or decrease to make your richness or leanness or perfection. Anyway, Paradise. I'm going to put the bowl on now. I'm going to get back up. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see the little black dots there on the cloth. See them all? That's the stuff that came out of the carburetor when I'm blowing the trichloroethane through it and stuff. So there was junk in there. Not heavy stuff, but still, how many particles do you need to make it not run right? I didn't really find a lot of dirt other than in this bowl here from the sediment of the fuel, just, you know. And I got a filter on the fuel line, so you know, it takes out the big stuff, but I don't, stuff that small might get through, I don't know. Apparently it does, or it was in here when it was new. I don't know, in the manufacturing process, who knows, because it's brand new, never been taken off, never been opened, never been dealt with like this before. It was assembled, put on the engine, it ran, and they go get it out, sell it, make some money. Anyway, the bottom's going to go on now, the float, the valve, metering valve, and then silicone this and screw that on. Paradise. Oh, I cleaned this out too. This is the metering hole here where that little point goes in and opens and closes to let more fuel, make more fuel available to the carburetor. Paradise out. Okay, we got the float on. So basically all I did was, and I don't know, maybe I can zoom in. I don't know if I can zoom in and get it in focus, but if you can see, there's a little channel. I'll use my little screwdriver thing to point with. I think I can. Let's see if I can. This is quite a task here. Yeah, this little channel right here on this side slides in there. There's a groove on that little valve that is narrow enough to put in this little channel right there where my screwdriver touches, and it just slides back in there. Just slide it back, and then that's it. It just slides there. It doesn't do nothing. It's not held in there by any other means other than that. And then I set this down on here with the valve in the hole that it goes. And then this was a little bit up, and I took my little slippery bar and I slid it through there. And then I shot a little WD-40 into the screw hole, because like I said, all the screw holes, I shoot a little WD-40 in there. And then I tighten it down. And now it's a free floating, see, completely free, really smooth and all that stuff. So that's good to go. Next thing I'm going to do is lube this gasket. Put that on, then I guess I'm done. That's it, folks. We got it rebuilt, and then I got to test it. And again, after I test it, I got to see if that air fuel ratio is working, and hopefully the engine runs properly after that. We'll see. Paradise out. Bye for now. Okay, boys and girls, we got her all back in one piece. I got her bagged in the Ziploc bag so she don't get dirty again, just from stuff, moisture, whatever, until we put it back in the boat. I siliconed, put the silicone gel on all of the rubber parts for the bowl and for the mount to the carburetor. I shot it, all the hinged parts, like this turns and stuff. I shot that with WD-40. Shot the other side here with WD-40 where it comes through. Shot all of the screw holes before I put screws in. Shot the idle adjustment screw with WD-40. Shot the choke mechanism thingy-majob with WD-40. Shot WD-40 all down in here to lubricate everything and waterproof it, water resistant, whatever. So I'm as good as we can get there, folks. So that's basically the rundown of how to take it apart. And it's not difficult. Like I said, all you need is a flat tip screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, your little jet cleaning kit, those small wires, and some silicone stuff for your rubber gaskets, and then you're good to go. And carburetor cleaner, of course. I didn't even use a whole can. I thought I was going to use like 2 or 3 cans of this stuff, but I didn't. I mean, it was, like I said, it's a brand new carb, so everything looks spotless. But I don't know if you did see or recall seeing on the tissue, there were little black dots. Yeah, you can still see them. See those little black dots? That came out of the carb. So there was stuff in there that when I blasted it with the carburetor cleaner, that black stuff came out. So it's not major, but you saw how tiny those holes are, so I don't know how much interference there is, but at least we know the carb is good now. And so if that still has an issue running, that's got to be ignition. Ignition, I mean, it could be a reed valve. They've got a more sophisticated reed valve than like my 15 horsepower. It's got like 5 in a row, like circular. They got like valves to go around. It's kind of interesting looking. I didn't know it until I pulled this off and I could see inside. Normal revalves, they're like in a little V like that going into the engine, and they just kind of flap open at this end, not this end, to let the gas in and to route the gas in and exhaust out. It's a flapper valve. It just flaps. Stainless steel, of course, like this. This could be one right here if it wasn't so dirty with cobwebs. This black, kind of like that, but they're super thin, flexible, spring steel kind of a thing. I'm sure they're stainless, maybe. Who knows? They should be so they don't rust. But anyway, Paradise out. Tissues, get some tissues too, and a little thing to put your parts in so they don't just roll off and down a crack and on the floor and you never find them again. So that's it, folks, and we will be putting this on the boat tomorrow if we can and seeing how she runs. And I can test it just sitting there at idle, because it was at idle, it idled okay, but every now and then it would just randomly die. And then at if you revved it up, it would run rough, weird, not consistent, not like that. It was weird. So, and it made clanking sound like it was misfiring or like it was detonating. So it sounded like that. So that's really bad. You don't want to detonate. But detonation is basically the fuel's exploding before the piston's close enough to the top, and so you're trying to compress an explosion. And you can drive a rod, you can break a rod, you can drive your bearing into your crankshaft, you can do all kinds of things, because like I said, the explosion's going this way, your piston's still going up, and it starts to explode, and you're trying to compress an explosion, and that, something's got to give. So detonation is your number one enemy, and lean fuel might be your next. So Paradise out. There she be. Okay, we have, as you saw previously, cleaned the carburetor as well as we could. Took it all apart, everything. Put it back on here. It's only 2 bolts. This bolt here and this bolt here. That's it. That's what's due to take it off. Other than you got to take off the fuel line on that side. You got to disconnect the the choke. It pops out here, snaps in there, and you got to take the throttle linkage off, and it just pops out there, snaps out. And then I purged the fuel line over here before I put it on. You see the fuel line there. I purged it into a little plastic bottle right there, just so make sure you get all the funky fuel out of the carburetor. Out of the fuel system. And honey, I need the starter. So I got to put the kill switch, opposite kill switch. If you take it off, it's a kill switch, but if you put it on, it's a run switch. So what do you want to call it, huh? Run or kill? Right now it's a kill, and it's about to become a run. There we go. Now we're on. Okay, so I'll pop the choke out. We pump the fuel up. We got a solid bulb, and we're going to start it and see how she runs. I do have the jet here right here adjusted to what I think is a little more lean. So we'll see. We'll see how it runs and starts. If it idles, we have to figure all that stuff out. So that'll be part of this process here. So I can't do all this with the camera in my hand. So we'll be back with more. Starter Paradise House. Alrighty. You hear that little kitten purr? I'm sorry, that tiger or that lion? Well, okay, I wouldn't call it that yet, but anyway, I rambled on long enough. We're at a full hour. She seems to be running good. I'll rev it up a little bit, show you the tack. You can hear it. So I guess that's okay. It's pretty loud when your ear's right near it and the cover's off. And also, you know, the exhaust comes out here. On the other one, it comes out where the, you know, the propeller is. But on this one, it comes out here. I don't know. And water comes out here. And water comes out here with the exhaust, and that cools the exhaust. And of course, you got your pee hole here, where water normally should always come out. So this 30 is different from the 15 and the 8. The 8's got a pee hole, but I don't see water coming out of there, and the 15's got a pee hole, and I don't see water coming out anywhere else. And the exhaust comes out the hole, the center of the prop comes out. So anyway, differences. They're not all the same. Anyway, I'm gonna try to get out of the wind here, and again, we're walking right into it. So some of this you may get, and some of this I may have to cut out because it's so dang noisy. But anyway, we got our anchors all set out here, and we're good to go. So anyway, tomorrow we're gonna plan on speed test day. So Paradise out.